For the next hour, the green and gold are in charge. Welcome to In the Huddle on the Woodward Radio Network. In the Huddle is brought to you by Mole Lake Casino Lodge and Conference Center. Now, here's Bill Scott and Green Bay defensive lineman BJ Raji.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome to Tanner's and Kimberly. Good to have you along here on this Tuesday night after the Packers roll the Minnesota Vikings 45-7 yesterday. That was pretty good stuff.
That was great, man. To beat a division rival like that, you don't see that too often, and just happened to be the Vikings, so it felt good.
Yeah, Eric Walden was supposed to join us tonight. He couldn't be here, so Justin Hull will be with us for the full hour from AM 1570 The Score. And, of course, BJ Raji alongside here. Packers defense came up with their most dominating performance of the season, holding Christian Ponder to 190 passing yards, and even more important, Adrian Peterson to only 51 rushing yards.
Right. That's the second part of that was the key of the game. You know what I mean? How talented Adrian is. You know, the first time we played him, you know, he kind of got the best of us with the 175 yards rushing. But yesterday we were able to, you know, hold him to 51 yards. So it was good to, good to see
what was
that.
His longest rush? Do you recall?
I think it was 13 yards, maybe, something like that.
Okay.
And it was kind of on a busted defense, and he kind of got the ball and hit it right downhill. And it's tough when a guy like that's hitting downhill on our safeties and stuff.
Did you sense anything different in the way the approach to the way the defense looked at this game, or was it just a simple fact you had to go in there and you had to play better?
I think it's a mixture of both. I think that we had to go in and play better, obviously, because we want to improve it each week. But I think, you know, being in front of our home crowd, you know, having the crowd on our side, I think helped some. And I think that execution was definitely the biggest key. I think it's just us being able to get off the field on third downs and limiting the time of possession and giving the ball back into our offense definitely was a key.
When you game plan like that, Minnesota, you saw him a few weeks back. Was there a lot different going on, or did you see a lot of the same things too? Your rookie quarterback and what you expected with Peterson?
No, if you remember the last game, they started out quick with the out and up that got us for the long passing play, which was a great call by them, the play action. And then Adrian got going. So when you have Adrian going, and you have a quarterback that can extend drives with his legs, we just got ourselves into a tough battle. But I think right off the start, we eliminated that. And obviously, Randall Cobb's punt return and our offense just catching fire definitely helped as well.
After San Diego, Charles Woodson was pretty down in the dumps, and he basically came out. He did this, I believe, last year as well at some point. But he just said that we need Dom Capers, our defensive coordinator, to put our best defensive player, Clay Matthews, in more advantageous scenarios to be able to get to the quarterback. Dom Capers, not only did he get Clay Matthews a quarterback, but he blitzed and rushed anybody and everybody. And I thought from all sides last night, it wasn't just Clay, it wasn't just Woodson, who was blitzing a lot himself,
right,
but the whole pressure package, defensive linemen included. I thought you collapsed the pocket, and you forced Ponder out when he didn't want to go out.
Right. Definitely, Dom opened up the playbook a little bit. It's a steep playbook, and Dom's very confident in what he calls. And Wood is in that position to be a leader. He can actually, go to the media, like you said, and just declare that. Everyone isn't in that position, but I think he was kind of fed up with just the way the defense was showing, and I think that it's a good call by him.
Can you see frustration? Can you see panic, like in a quarterback's eyes? Like Ponder, it looked like once he got to the third quarter, he had no idea what he was doing.
Well, I think Ponder understands what their game plan was, and obviously the game plan was to run the ball because they had some success in the first game. He knows he's probably not, a guy that's going to beat you if it's a lot of third and long situations. If he had to hold on to the ball a little bit longer, that's what we made him do. And I think that ultimately, anytime you hit a quarterback, they're going to be frustrated. Quarterbacks don't really like to get hit much.
Do you feel a sense of relief? Almost to a man in there, the players were not happy on the defensive side of the ball because they'd seen the offense doing this and they'd see special teams doing this, and defense just didn't feel they were consistently doing their part. Do you feel relieved after last night?
Not so much relief, so much like we knew we had it in us and to go out there and perform. That's what the game is about, performance on game day, and we showed that we can play that way, and hopefully it's just the first step in a transition in the next part of the season.
What do shutouts mean? I mean, he's so close to that shutout, the touchdown with the short field. I mean, that was the difference there with having the goose egg versus the 7.
Yeah, well, first of all, shutouts are rare. You know, shutouts don't really come that much in this league with the tremendous play calling and playmakers you have on offense. But ultimately, I think that, you know, we would like to have the shutout, but understanding the adverse situation that happened after, you know, the muff punt, you put a team like that in a particular scoring situation. I mean, a good offense with good players are going to capitalize on that.
Shutouts mean that you tape Randall Cobb to the goalpost and, you know, throw snowballs at him when there's snow on the ground.
No, because this is the same Randall Cobb that returned the punt for a touchdown. So sometimes you got to take the good with the bad. And last night, the good was a lot better than the bad.
And then a 55-yard kick return right after that muff. So you kind of made up for it a little bit.
That's some of the resiliency I talk about when I'm up here each week. And I think for a young guy in his position, I mean, the play wasn't as big in the game because of the margin of the score. But I think that just for his psyche to be able to come back and respond and get that out of his head, I think that was great.
That's kind of the entire team, though. I mean, it seems like every time the adverse, you know, conditions come up, there's adverse plays, you guys come up with an answer, no matter who it is, 1 through 53 on the roster.
I think that's just a part of, you know, just having the championship mentality and something that Coach McCarthy preaches all the time about just finishing and just trusting the schemes. You know, a lot of times it's easy. Like, once again, I said in this league, it's a high-stress league, and it's so easy to question and second-guess things when things aren't going right. It's the guys that are able to, you know, chug away and continue to believe and make things happen.
We talked about this last night in the locker room after the game, but BJ Raji, you probably don't see it on TV real well because the play was headed right, but it was designed to come back to the left in a screenplay. And the one guy that read it, folks, was the nose tackle. You might have been playing defensive end at that time, but BJ Raji stopped the screenplay. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, the call was, you know, I had contained on the play, and I could tell by the movement and how Ponder was rolling away, just so lackadaisical. I knew he wasn't really going to the right with the football, and I just, you know, I saw the offensive lineman kind of had the open gate with this, like the way his screen looks, and I just got in the way, and thank God I was able to stop that.
Yeah, you had pick 6 written all over it. I mean,
man, I had flashbacks definitely. But it was great. It was a big play in the game, and I think ultimately forced the 3-and-out, I believe.
All right, we'll take a break, and we'll come back and talk more about yesterday's win over the Vikings, 45-7, with BJ Raji and Justin Hull. In the Huddle continues after this on the Woodward Radio Network.
Back to In the Huddle with Bill Scott and Green Bay defensive lineman BJ Raji.
And we are back at Tanner's here in Kimberly. Good to have you along here. Our transportation tonight is brought to you by L&S Classic Limousine Service. Personal, professional service for all occasions. Call 800-830-5933 for your reservation. And Lenny, the limo driver, he has quite a reputation that precedes himself, no question. And you bring up L&S Classic Limousine. Everybody knows Lenny, right?
Definitely, especially that hat.
And mostly good. I mean, mostly good. And for the people that, you know, think anything that's not mostly good, they don't hold it against him. So
you know what? Why would you? Why would you?
He's the best, no question. We thank him for getting you guys here each and every week. Well, Packers, you weren't fooled by that flea flicker that the Vikings tried to run against you either. In fact, Ponder threw the ball into triple coverage. It wasn't even close to being open. And in my opinion, that was a rookie quarterback right there. He was not willing to take a hit or take a sack or try to roll out, do what he could to get outside the pocket. He just said, you know what, I'm throwing it up for grabs, and whatever happens, happens.
Right. Yeah, but sometimes in those plays, you know, when you're practicing those, you're not really practicing a second option or, you know, somebody that's in the flat. It's usually max protection in a two-man route or something like that. So in his situation, he kind of just throw it up. But generally, I mean, you kind of like for those plays to kind of be surprised, and I think we kind of learned from the Denver game.
Defensively, when you see a play like that, I mean, doesn't that reek desperation? I mean, when you have to go into, you know, the back little corner of your play call sheet to come up with something like that. Yes,
but when it works, you kind of just shake your head like, you know, you got one on us. But yesterday, my guys in the back end were ready for that. I think Denver got us a couple weeks back, and I think those guys learn from that. Just, I guess, by the movement of the offensive linemen and just, I guess, the blocking of certain receivers. I guess you figure that out.
Yeah, it's definitely an energizer if it works. Much like, although to a different degree, but much like the punt return for a touchdown. I mean, you guys go out and make the stop right off the bat defensively, and then here comes the 80-yard punt return. I mean, that has everybody on your sideline just, geeked up and ready to go for a big game.
Definitely. We're tough to beat, just offensively and defensively when we're playing well. And if you throw in the element of, Randall and the guys blocking and him scoring on that end of side of the ball, we're going to be real tough to beat if Randall can continue to get us good yardage and a change of field position.
Well, you're going to be real tough to beat if all three elements continue to click like they did yesterday or last night, because it was the offense, it was the defense, it was special teams. You had everything going, and it hasn't been too many times this year where all three have been active at the same time. But it is kind of reminiscent, though, of a point last season. Maybe it's a little earlier now than what it was last season. Of course, you weren't undefeated at the time last season either, but kind of reminiscent of the defense deciding, you know what, we need to pick things up. And there was a point when that happened, and then you guys were gangbusters and went on to win the Super Bowl.
Right. Coach's whole speech this week was, putting together a complete game. Excuse me. We haven't done it all season, like you said. And I think that, just understanding that we take the ball away pretty well. But I think that with the 3 and outs, the more we can limit a team's possessions and the time of possession, I think you give our guys the ball, and those guys can eat up clock and eventually go down and score touchdowns. And that's kind of a momentum shift and a momentum killer for those guys.
When the blitz package is out there like it was yesterday or last night, and you've got guys just flying, I mean, Woodson's blitzing, Tremont Williams is blitzing, Morgan Burnett, Desmond Bishop, I mean, linebackers are coming. When everybody's coming like that, it looked almost, to the untrained eye, almost a bit chaotic back there. I mean, there were guys flying around coming from all kinds of different directions. How much ad-libbing is there on your side of the football, or is this as precise as it's drawn up on the playbook?
I think it starts with Dom. He's the creator of our defense. And I think that what he does so well is, he goes over tendencies and how teams have reacted to what we've done. Like, for instance, if he brought a safety down and we ran it 6 times, and every single time the safety's dropping back into the flat, well, he figures the team is going to pick up on that. It's not going to respect the safety. So, sometimes he'll switch it up, you know what I mean? And whereas he'll bring guys that have been shown on film to drop, and sometimes he'll just change it up. We'll show one way, come another. He just has a variety of things that he does, and when it's clicking, it's fun to watch.
Is this all from the playbook, or is he coming up with these different ideas, different schemes on a weekly basis, just kind of tweaking his defense?
I think it is definitely tweaking. Sometimes we'll practice on Wednesday, and we'll come in on Thursday, and Dom's had a few little tweaks where he thinks that it'll give us a better advantage as far as when we want to run these things. But ultimately, I think the personnel, if Dom would tell you firsthand that having the personnel that we have, you're having guys that can cover and tackle, it's hard to find that in this league, and I think the teams that have it have success and have a chance to win.
Does he ever come in with a new scheme or a new idea on a cocktail napkin?
No, Dom's very professional. He's one of those coaches that everything he wants to say, he'll have it on the board, so he'll go down line for line. He's one of those guys that he doesn't leave anything untouched, so he likes everything to be clear of what he's asking you to do. So I don't care if it's something you heard 50 times. If he feels he needs to write it up for you to get it, for him to remember it, that's what he's going to do.
Yeah, have any idea how many different defensive plays you guys are on?
Wow. Oh, man.
Is like hundreds, or thousands?
I would say probably closer to 100.
Yeah.
But individual plays, that's a lot. Different packages and different blitzes, and some blitzes have the same name, but we change a number or a name because the strong safety is blitzing as opposed to the free safety, or we'll switch something up where the corner's blitzing, and he has different varieties, and I think that ultimately it helps us win.
You weren't on the field as much last night. Was A, how many snaps did you take? B, obviously I'm assuming that was by design.
Yeah, I haven't really watched the film yet, so I don't know. We'll get more into that tomorrow, but Coach felt like just a copycat league. And he felt that you watch other teams and their defensive linemen are rotating, and he felt like sometimes, like not done by design, but he felt that I sometimes needed a break. And depending on sometimes what we're doing, whether it's our rover stuff or a 1D lineman, he felt like that's the time where I can get a rest. And I think that did a great job of that last night. And obviously the way the game went, it wasn't that big of a factor, but we'll see how it goes down the line when obviously the games will be a little closer.
Is that tough? I mean, playing a different number of, you're used to being out there.
I trust him. He's obviously doing it for the better of the team and the better of myself. And when things are going well and you're winning big like that, it's tough to really question it. But when the games, the scores are a little closer, we'll see how it goes.
It had been 29 days since you last played a game at Lambeau Field.
Right.
Did it seem like 29 days?
It did. It felt a while. And you include the 2 games and then the bye week.
Right.
It felt like it's been a while. And we got some good fans, and we got a good thing going here with the home field record and the winning streak. And I think that it can continue. And I think just given the opportunity to be back and playing in front of our fans was pretty special.
Let me ask you about when you're so far out in front of teams.
Right.
This is probably a stupid question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. All right. Do you get bored with beating the pants off everybody by halftime, and it's pretty much, the game is well in hand?
Bored is the wrong word.
Yeah.
I think that some of the things we do, like we're the type of defense, if something's working, we're going to stay with it. So a lot of times it'll get repetitive. Like, it's second and long, third and long, we're calling the same calls, but when it's working, you can't really argue with it. And I think that the way our offense scores, I'm always either anytime we're on special teams, if it's a kickoff, I'm looking for a big hit. If it's a return, I'm looking for Randall to do something special. If we're on offense, I'm looking for Aaron to do something, that's going to be a highlight. So, I don't get bored playing, and I love winning. I wish you could win like that every week.
Yeah, well, A.J. Hawk said, he said, hey, we love this. He said, our fans probably get a little bored with it. He says,
Right.
but we love this, and,
Right.
and I'm sure the players do. But I do think it's interesting because, you're 9-0. I think it could be at some point here an instinct that if this continues for another week or two, you could be saying, hey, let's get rid of the regular season. Let's bring on the playoffs because we're ready to go.
I don't think, just looking ahead, I don't think that would be the case. You want
I'm sure.
I don't see Coach McCarthy saying, hey, guys, we're gonna lay this game down and, we're going to rest Aaron and do all this. We're too much of competitors, and we understand. Just last year we were fighting for our lives in the playoffs, so.
All right, we'll finish that answer when we come back on the Woodward Radio Network.
Now back to In the Huddle with Bill Scott and Green Bay defensive lineman BJ Raji.
And we are back. Good to have you along here this evening, along with BJ Raji. I'm Bill Scott. Justin Hull from AM 1570 The Score is with us throughout the program again tonight. Eric Walden was supposed to be with us and could not make it. Our program tonight brought to you by Mole Lake Casino Lodge and Conference Center. Enjoy the excitement of Vegas close to home at Mole Lake Casino Lodge and Conference Center in beautiful Crandon, Wisconsin. Packers over the Vikings 45-7 yesterday. Vikings had a lot of players slipping on the field a lot, and it looked like, sometimes that happens and equipment people make the adjustment, they change the cleats out and give you something different. Didn't look like they adjusted at all.
Particularly in defense, I'll just assume that's what you were talking about on defense.
Yeah.
It's tough, man. Especially when a lot of those guys, the skilled guys, come out before the game and they'll track the turf out. Some guys don't like to do that, but I think ultimately, having to cover the receivers that we have and the players that we have isn't easy. But when you don't have the proper equipment and something's going wrong, because you're right, there was a lot of people slipping out there. I don't know exactly what the cause was.
Yeah. I wanted you to finish your thought before we went to break, too, but I wanted to add this to it because Mike McCarthy said about 2 weeks ago that we'll start to talk and discuss our long-term goals and the picture once we get to double-digit wins. When we get there, we start talking about winning the division, we start talking about playoffs and unbeaten and all that kind of stuff. Well, you're one win away from that double-digit process. Are you ready for that?
I think we are. I think, Coach, like you said, Coach does a good job with, keeping us focused in the present, not looking to the future too much. But I think it's only natural when you get to, 10, 11 wins. Hopefully we get there. relatively quickly. That you're talking about the playoffs and seeding and, depending on who you're playing and all this kind of stuff. But I think ultimately we have the type of group that's mature enough, just for example, just the way he adjusted our schedule this year to kind of keep us fresh and keep us, coming out of the gate running. I think that we handled that well, and we able to start the season off fast with 9 wins and 0 losses. I think that he kind of believes that this group can handle certain things as opposed to teams in previous years.
Is it hard to avoid all that? I mean, media's bringing it up every day. I remember hearing questions, I think, after the 4th or 5th victory about undefeated seasons.
No, actually, I don't think it is. I mean, especially, playing for a team like this, just coming off a championship season. Quite frankly, we had a whole offseason, to realize how much, that when we got back to work, the media would be a little, crazy with the questions. So I guess people were ready for that. And like I said, this team's mature and we're able to handle certain things that like coaches' teams in the past weren't able to.
Well, Aaron Rodgers continues to put up big numbers, and he continues to, in many cases, put Brett Favre in the rearview mirror. He continues to break records. 4 more touchdowns, 28 touchdowns and 3 interceptions on the season. Just phenomenal numbers. Quarterback rating yesterday, 140.3.
Excellent.
And he's now in 9 straight games gone with at least 2 touchdown passes, which broke Brett Favre's single-season franchise record of 8 that he set back in 1994. So, there's the longevity records that he's going to have to play a while to be able to break, but he's setting so many of these other records already at this stage of his career that, given his health, he may make Green Bay forget about number 4.
Hopefully he will. He's my quarterback. He's our quarterback. But I think ultimately, obviously Brett was a great player, Hall of Famer in my opinion. Did some great things for this town and the city. But I think what ultimately separates Brett and Aaron is just ability to make the right decision. And
on and off the field.
Right. but particularly on the field. This Aaron would rather, I think sometimes when I see him get hit, like, I kind of hold my breath because I'm like, man, please just get up. Guy's taking a beating. But I think that he's the type of quarterback that would rather get sacked than throw a pick, and I don't know if you guys have been following, our rival, the Bears, but you're starting to see Jay Cutler get into that. Last year and early this year, he was kind of just winging the ball up there and hoping and praying, and there was some turnovers. Now he's trying to take care of the ball, and when you have skill sets like those 2 quarterbacks and you make the right decisions, you usually have good results.
I saw the stat today. Rodgers for the season, 130 quarterback rating. Tom Brady's next, 102. Now, if you go, that's a 28-point difference. You go 28 points below Brady, there's 14 quarterbacks that are in that category. That's how far Rodgers is, outplaying everybody this year. I mean, it's just astonishing a lot.
Yeah, and I think, Aaron would say that, I'm sure he said that, some of the credit goes to the receivers and having the weapons that we have. Just watching him pitch and catch with those guys is a sight to see. But I think ultimately it comes right back, like I said, Aaron's decision making, and he never gets bored with the easy throw, a check down route. He'll throw that. If that's all you're going to give him all game, he'll throw those all game until you show him something different, and then obviously the opportunities open up to go downfield. But he's not the type of quarterback that's going to throw it anywhere.
I would agree. I do agree 100% on the supporting cast. I mean, he's a great quarterback, but every great quarterback has great receivers. Joe Montana had Jerry Rice, and the Packers have, and that's why when you look at the stats column, when you look at Aaron Rodgers' numbers, pass completions, there's 8, 9, 10. There have been as many as 12 receivers catching passes, counting running backs, of course, but 12 people catching at least 1 pass in a football game. That means that everybody's kind of checking, they're not selfish. Know checking the egos at the door, and they're ready to go out and sacrifice for the team.
And I think the guys that we have are very competitive, and they know that the sooner they get open, the sooner Aaron will put the ball on them. Like, Aaron's not not biased. He's not looking for one particular guy. He's throwing to the open guy, and I think that those guys work extremely hard to get open. I think ultimately, especially Aaron playing in the system, we pass a lot, so his touchdowns will be up there. But I think the most important factor is the interceptions. He's limiting those things, and I think if he keeps continuing this, I mean, who knows what type of season, what type of numbers he'll put up.
You talk about the sack versus the interception, and that's one of the big differences with Favre. Do you think he absorbed that from Brett? I mean, watching him for years, just seeing a few times that, interceptions ended the season, or it cost a game, making that one decision, maybe trying to do a little bit too much.
Definitely, I definitely think that has a lot to do with it, especially this is a guy that's sitting in your meeting room every day. You listen to him getting coached, and a good coach always tells you, like, even when I'm not talking to you, you should be listening to what I'm saying, so I don't have to keep repeating the same things over and over again. So I'm sure that's what Aaron was doing when Brett was getting coached on certain mistakes. Aaron was just taking note and just keeping in mind that these are some of the things I want to stay away from.
Topic in the Journal Sentinel a few days back. There was a column written by Tom Silverstein, and it had to do with the Packers may not be getting their just due in terms of national notoriety. There's not a lot of people coming in here and doing stories on the Green Bay Packers like you would expect to have done for a 9-0 football team. Would you agree with that? You're getting dissed, in other words?
No, I don't think we're getting dissed. I think that, I can't just sit here and say that a lot of people thought we'd be undefeated, but a lot of people thought we would be a good team this year. I think, there's some other teams around the league that are a bit more of a surprise, especially, the first half of the season. Like now, you're in the part of the season where teams start to separate themselves. The next couple of weeks, you'll really know who's kind of in the playoff hunt and things like that. And I really think that, us, we're not worried about that. I think what we do, we get a good job. We have some high-profile players on this team. We got Aaron, obviously. We got Clay. We got Greg. We got some high-profile guys that are in the media and have their marketing deals. So it's not like we're overlooked. I just think naturally, when you're not in a real big media market, I think that definitely can do nothing but hurt you.
You like that? You like it being quiet? I just like winning. As long as we keep getting the W's every week, I don't care where you put me.
Well, this is yesterday was the start of a 3-game, 11-day stretch for the Packers. So You've got Sunday against Tampa Bay, and then the Lions on Thanksgiving Day. Is that a big deal for you?
We'll see. I think that we even have a little shorter turnaround this week. Playing Monday night and having to play. I believe we play at 12 this Sunday against the Bucs. So it'll be interesting to see how the guys react. But I'm anticipating another good performance, and hopefully we can win that.
All right, our email segment sponsored by Granite Peak Ski Area is coming up next. Back with more In the Huddle from Tanners and Kimberly after this on the Woodward Radio Network.
Now back to In the Huddle with Bill Scott and Green Bay defensive lineman BJ Raji.
And we're back at Tanners and Kimberly. Good to have you along tonight. Justin Hull joins us throughout the rest of the show, and BJ Raji alongside. We'd like to welcome Packers fans listening in Baraboo tonight in WRPQ, and Marshfield on WDLB, down in Racine on WRJN, in Sparta on WKLJ, and in Amory, Wisconsin tonight on WXCE. Granite Peak Ski Area in Wausau is the tallest and largest ski area in Wisconsin with over 700 vertical feet and 74 runs. This year offers an expanded beginner area, a new fleet of rental equipment, and 10 new snow guns for the best snowmaking in the state of Wisconsin. For more information and discounted season passes and lift tickets, go to skigranitepeak.com today. Justin, time now for the email segment.
All right, we'll get to our first question. Here comes from Ann in Oshkosh. Does the NFL offer financial planning to players, especially those right from college to, you're working with more money than you probably ever dreamed of?
Yes. There's different programs, particularly when you're coming as a rookie, to kind of educate you in spending your money wisely. But I think that the Packers, can't really speak for every other team, but we do a good job. Rob Davis is the head of our player development, and he has people coming in all the time talking to us about our finances and how you save. But ultimately, the biggest thing I've learned is just if you can minimize your spending, your chances will increase for you to have, ends, when your career is done, and for your family down the line. The more you spend, obviously, the less money you'll have.
It's amazing, too. You look at, Mark Brunell's story is one that really stands out. The guy would have made like $50 million in his career and is $20 million in debt.
Yeah, it's sad, man. To be blessed to make that kind of money in such a short period of time and for you to be so careless with it. At the same time, I think it's just evident of bad decision making and poor planning.
All right, we'll get to our next question here. It comes from Jamie in Kaukauna. Jamie says, last week Robert Francois, who was here, was talking about how big was he in high school. How big were you in high school?
My freshman year, I was probably about 245, and then, as I started to play, and I think my senior year when I was getting ready to go to college, I was like 295.
What did you play at college?
What I play at college?
What did you play at? What was your college weight?
Defensive. What I play at? My freshman year, I was probably about 315, and then I kind of just got up. In my senior year, I ended up being like 335 around there.
All right.
When you get to college, I would imagine they turned. I mean, the high school. The high school 295 is probably a softer 295. The 315 college weight is a lot of muscle.
Right. It's different. Obviously, colleges. There's a lot of, depending on what program you're at. I mean, down south, we're talking a little bit different. More serious with the football, but I think up north particularly, you're just really doing things that kind of just elementary things as far as training. You're not really getting into any, because a lot of times you don't have the money for the equipment. A lot of things that you have at a big-time program or a Division I program in NFL, you just can't afford to have at college. So I think that high school was more elementary. I think you get to college and a serious weight program with a coach that's paid, to get you ready for a season. And obviously, college, the off season is a lot longer. So to be honest with you, you're spending the majority of the time with the strength coach in college because, you're playing football in college from September to, if you play in a bowl game, you play from September to January something, or December, wherever you fall. But ultimately, your strength program is going to determine what type of football team you have.
Do you have nutritionists right now, too, that kind of talk about what to eat as well?
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely different things that you can do. I think that Mark Lavatt, our guy, does a great job with us. I think that he really understands what we need position-wise, and I think that he's doing a good job. But ultimately, there's always education about that kind of stuff. It's just a matter of you being willing to be open to it.
All right, we'll get to our next question here from Christy in Kaukauna. When there is a quick punt return or a fast offensive score, as a defensive player, does it ever get tiring to be out on the field for such a long time in a row?
Depending on the situation. If we just had a long drive and we get a punt and Randall takes it back, we have to go back out, then obviously I'll be more tired than if I just came off a 3 and out, only playing 3 plays, and then Randall takes it back or something like that. So it depends on the situation.
So you never sit there, oh, here we go again. We just had another 90-yard touchdown pass.
Anytime we get points, you won't hear any complaints from me.
All right, do we got time for one more?
Yep.
All right, well, we'll sneak this one in here. This one is from Christy in Reedsburg. Have you seen the YouTube video or heard the song Moves Like Roger? Do you like that your name is mentioned in that video along with the rest of your team?
You know what? I haven't heard of that. And I'm surprised that, because I usually hear about this if it's not people from back home or people on the team just trying to be funny or something, but I haven't really heard that.
You haven't heard the Moves Like Roger? There's that one, and then there's the Packer rock anthem with all the the current hit music, I guess you call it.
I guess I'm not up on the current hits, man. I apologize. I haven't heard of that.
All right.
So you're not bopping to roll out the barrel? Every time it happens.
Is that like pub music or something like that?
It's polka.
It's polka.
Polka.
My background in polka isn't what yours is.
How was yours, Justin?
I don't think I have ever polkaed in my life.
Oh, come on.
No, I have
never
not.
polkaed in
I
your
have
life?
never polkaed in my life.
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
gonna be honest with you on that one. So that would be a good sack dance, though. If you each get a half to stand out there and start polkaing.
You and Ryan Pickett
that
grab
would be
arms
great.
and start doing the polka, man.
When you get a sack, how about you do the polka?
If I get a sack, I'll
Yeah.
do the polka. Okay.
My point exactly.
All right, there's our email segment, and we'll come back and announce our winner in the next 3 minutes. More from Tanner's here in Kimberly. After this on the Woodward Radio Network.
Now back to In the Huddle with Bill Scott and Green Bay defensive lineman BJ Raji.
And we're joined again by Justin Hull. Thanks for pinch hitting for us again tonight. Packers 45-7 over the Vikings last night. And time now to pick our winner of our email segment, brought to you by Granite Peak.
Ann in Oshkosh had the question about the financial advice. I thought that was a good question, kind of informational there. So she'll pick up the prize pack from Granite Peak.
All right, congratulations, Ann. 49ers win over the Giants on Sunday. They're still lurking just a game behind the Packers, and I think that that win out there against a pretty good Giants football team probably, you really didn't know if this was a team that was for real because their schedule wasn't real strong. The Giants come in there, I think you can now say that, yeah, I think they're probably a team that might be reckoned with.
Oh, yeah, you have to tip your hats to the 49ers, especially that coach out there, Harbaugh. We got a lot of Michigan guys on this team, so those guys speak highly of him. He's a tough guy, and they like his attitude and his approach.
Isn't it amazing that a coach like that can take the same people that Mike Singletary couldn't win with, and he comes in and changes the whole landscape?
Right. I think a big thing was, he definitely stressed to those guys his belief in the players that he already had there, and the guys in turn believed in him and wanted to play hard for him, and he has so much emotion, and you can tell he cares about those guys and the outcome of those games, and I think that they found a good coach, and they got some good players. Obviously, the defense is playing real well, and Alex Smith is obviously having the best season of his career. And they're doing some good things, and they have a shot.
Everybody talks about that division being weak. I heard they only had one game against the division opponent thus far this year. And 5 of their final 6 games are against division teams, which are not very good.
When people start talking about weak opponents and all this stuff, I understand. Obviously, if you have a team, you're into week 12 or 13 without a win, then that's obviously a weak opponent. But first half of the season, how do you know who's a weak opponent and who's not?
Just come and ask me, I'll tell you.
You're very opinionated, I'm sure.
Well, you see St. Louis beat New Orleans. I mean, that's a perfect example of how weak is a weak opponent.
Exactly.
When that happens.
Football is all about matchups. It's rare that you find teams in this league that can go out and just dominate any and everybody. Sometimes you see the same team that'll play great against somebody, another team that poses a different threat to them, they struggle. I think that's the thing about this league. I said it's a copycat league, and it's about trying to expose your opponent and attack weaknesses.
Well, and I think, in all fairness to some of these teams, they'll start the year off not real strong, not a real good team, and then as the year goes on, they get maybe healthier, they get some guys back, and teams are starting to play better, and you don't kind of classify them in that category, so to speak. How about the Bears-Lions? You watch that game at all?
I did.
Yeah, what'd you think of that?
Wow, just even going back to our game, when you're playing a division game, it's rare to see such a big blowout, man, because the familiarity is there with both teams, both coaches. I mean, obviously you see these guys twice a year. So I felt like, when the Bears can run the ball on you, they're tough to beat because their defense flies around. A lot of people kind of pick them for a cover 2 defense. They don't play as much cover 2 as you think. I think that their personnel on defense allows them to do certain things, but when Forte gets going, and like I said, we talked about it earlier, Cutler's playing a lot better with the decision making. I think that when you have that, the Bears are a tough team.
You saw the late hit that Fairley had on Cutler.
Yeah.
You see what Ndamukong Suh does almost on a weekly basis.
Right.
Is this 2 dirty players, 1 dirty player, a dirty football team?
Oh, no.
A cheap football team?
No, because if you watch our games, those guys are trying to do Aaron the same way. They're falling on him, flopping on him, sitting on his head and all this kind of craziness. So I think that many times your defender, it's tough, like within a certain amount of seconds to just turn the switch off. You're wired and you're coached all night, all week to be aggressive and to go after guys. And when you see opportunity, there's obviously a lot of gray areas, but ultimately, who's to say who's dirty and who's not? Everyone's trying to win.
How about what Stafford did? Did you see that, grabbing the helmet?
I did see that. I think he was picking a battle. That he's probably not going to win too often.
Well, I thought that, in all fairness, I thought that Stafford should have been ejected. If you're going to kick the other guy out, you kick Stafford out.
Right.
The league already protects the quarterbacks, above and beyond. And Stafford is the one that started that, and it was a fairly, it was an over-the-top type play. You can bet he's going to get a fine this week. Definitely. But I thought he should have been kicked out too.
It depends how you look at it. But I think we have a good quarterback, so. My mentality on protecting the quarterback has changed. That was more of a, man, this is ridiculous. And you can't hit the quarterback and all that stuff, but I don't want nobody to hit number 12. So
what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Exactly. Yeah. So we have a good quarterback. We have a good thing going, and I want them to protect them as much as they can.
All right, you got Tampa Bay coming in on Sunday. Josh Freeman, the quarterback, he's shown some great potential. Been a little up and down this year. Corey Blunt, very solid running back. Your thoughts on the Bucs?
Oh man, LeGarrette Blunt is just a phenomenal running back, and I think we actually played those guys my rookie year, so it's good that we have some film.
I said Corey, didn't I?
You did say Corey.
He was a basketball player.
Yeah.
That's right.
But I think that ultimately when you have film on a team, it allows you, to kind of switch it up because, I mean, they're probably going to do the same thing that we're doing. They're going to dissect that film and how we try to attack them. I think Josh Freeman is a great quarterback, a great young quarterback. They have weapons, man, and their defense is young and up front, and they're hungry, and you can tell by the way they play. And I think it's definitely going to be a tough challenge. This is a big game for them as well, so it's going to be a good game.
All right, Packers after that on Thanksgiving, so we'll worry about that next Monday night. But good luck against Tampa Bay, and congratulations on 9-0.
Thanks a lot. Hopefully we continue this, and next week we'll be talking about 10-0.
All right, BJ Raji, Justin Hull, thank you very much for coming out. Evan Stanek, our engineer, our producer Reggie Razoo, video handled by Phil Rothman tonight. We'll be back next Monday right here at Tanner's on the Woodward Radio Network.